Hello and welcome back to the Bitcoin Business Lounge. It is, of course, Winning Wednesday. I am blessed to be rejoined by a friend of the show, Dan from Angle. Welcome back, Dan. Today, on Winning Wednesday, we look at how Bitcoin can help people win, what that means to them, and then what do they then do once they're winning, right? If Bitcoin is a tool that gives you back time, then what do you do with this time, and how do you use it to get time back? If you're new to Bitcoin, the concept may seem a little alien that digital money gives you time, but ultimately, the reason this is discussed in the Bitcoin space is because the debasement of fiat currency is essentially time theft. If you have a currency that is being inflated over time, the monetary base is being inflated over time, then the money that you worked for, part of that is being taken away. And so part of the time that you as an individual expended working is and we're not just talking about tax here. This is theft through inflation of the monetary base. Bitcoin as a scarce hard money can't be debased as such, and so over time, people argue that you get time back if you save in Bitcoin. Is that something you'd agree with, Dan? Bitcoin gives you time back.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Well said, in fact.
Yeah.
Wilson, yeah.
Does it take a long time to get that time back?
Good. Good question. I guess it also depends. When exactly did you realize Bitcoin will give you time? Let's put it like that.
There's kind of weird things that happen though, where you realize you can save in something again, and so in theory you might not have to work as much, but you're now incentivized more than ever to work more because you can save that work output more, and so there's a conflict of interest. I think certainly in your I don't know, in most people's Bitcoin days, unless they've been in for a long time, where they are conflicted between enjoying some of the fruits of their labor that haven't been robbed to the same extent previous ones have, or continuing to kind of double down and save more in this currency that is doing well over longer periods of time.
I guess maybe a good analogy would be that you're not swimming against the stream so much anymore. Like you don't have all kind of the things in the system that work against you, which is taxation and inflation, and suddenly it feels easier to do things. Perhaps that's the best analogy that I could think of.
It kind of simplifies your look on finances, you think?
You have less of a burden of needing to save. Saving comes built into the system,
right,
when you use Bitcoin. So suddenly, I guess, and I guess you notice this when you are hanging out with other Bitcoiners, and then you look at the normies. It is for them, for a normie, you need to save your money. You need to save your wealth so it won't be eroded, and that you don't have that problem with when you go fully into the Bitcoin.
You mean in the normal world, they can't just save; they have to actually invest
exactly.
in markets. They have to take on additional risk in order just to maintain their purchasing power, which is wrong, right? Like
absolutely wrong.
One Bitcoiner who I'm not going to name, his thesis a few years ago was that if you have the money is essentially meant to be something that you can gain to have an option of purchasing goods and services in the future.
Yeah.
And so essentially like a storage. It should be a storage of value. It should be a store of wealth. And with inflation, your ability to get back an equivalent or even greater amount of goods and services from society with that money that you saved it's impossible. You can't do it. You get less back. And so what does that mean over time? Well, if people can't save, if they can't just save to maintain a good quality of life, then what do? Well, they have to either earn more, which may mean they might have to work more hours. It may mean that they're having to compromise on other like lifestyle things like health and fitness and sleep. Who knows? Or they do something less honest, right? They try and work out a way to cheat the system, to scam people, because the system isn't working. There is a breakdown between the individual and society when money is being eroded. When you can't say, okay, when it doesn't seem like it's fair, when everyone feels like it's not fair, people don't play by the rules. And I think you have societal breakdown because people's relationship to society gets fractured over time as the money gets more and more broken.
Yeah, you basically have to work harder to accumulate your wealth.
Or rob,
it's
steal,
not just, let's assume you're honest. Even if you're honest and you play by the rules and you play by the way the system tells you to.
Do you think honesty is binary? Is it you honest or dishonest, or is it a sliding scale?
Wow. It's definitely a sliding scale.
So things like shrinkflation, for example, like when they it's the same price but they made the size smaller or something.
Somebody must think they are very clever. The persons who came up with the idea, let's just give them less.
Like juice manufacturers selling 900 mils instead of a liter or something. You're like,
you could say this is dishonesty. Right?
I think so, but where I don't know. Is it binary? I don't know. I'm sure some people think you're either lying or you're not. Yeah.
Or perhaps don't blame the player, blame the game. Right?
Well, that's
you're playing by the rules that the system that you're able to play with.
I still believe in the personal responsibility. I think as Bitcoiners we have to, but I do think the system gives incentives to tempt people into these sorts of moves because they have nowhere to go. Why do some of these companies have nowhere to go? Oh, well, it's because all of their equity, all their share prices are massively overinflated. Why? Oh, it's because people can't just save in their fiat currency. People can't save in dollars, euros, pounds. They save in index funds. And index funds just buy all the equities. And so then all of these big companies have massively overvalued share prices. So what are the CEOs meant to do?
Yeah, absolutely.
What are the CEOs meant to do other than cut the quality of products, reduce the size of products, or put the prices up?
Yeah, find all kind of clever ways to battle the erosion of the money.
But a CEO has to make the stock price keep going up, and if you've already,
if
it's already higher than it should be, how do you do that? Well, you have to cheat, I think.
Yeah. There is this sentence that I really love. It's fix the money, fix the world. I really believe that this is true. Like when the foundation is built on something broken, everything else.
There's a lot of steps in between, right?
So you have to start somewhere, I guess, and this is what Bitcoiners are doing.
When you adopted Bitcoin and you realized, okay, that the money's fixed, what did you then start fixing or improving in your life next?
In my case, it was, I remember reading, there was this economic newsletter, Israeli economics newsletter.
What year are we talking approximately?
It's 2013.
Okay.
And there was the technology that will kill the banks, something like that. More or less. I don't remember exactly I actually have the link still of that article. And I like, if you read that, you have to go and, if you read that title, you have to go in and read about what is this technology. So it was about Bitcoin, very interesting. And at the time, I think
This was your first exposure to.
that was my first exposure. Yeah.
Wow.
And at the time, people maybe were naive enough to think Bitcoin will kill banks. I think now maybe that's not exactly true, or maybe it's longer.
Certainly in
the journey.
2013, I guess that 2011, 2013 was kind of the major Silk Road days, right? I'm sure there were other big users of Bitcoin at the time, but there weren't the same. What's the word? There weren't the same kind of credentialized peoples, right?
Yeah,
There weren't.
okay, that's a
There
good
weren't
one.
all of the kind of authorities that are that are heavily regulated that are now involved in Bitcoin.
And lots of studies that have been made, and research that has been made since that make us realize more what Bitcoin is more than what we thought it is. Or
So this article said it was going to kill the banks, and you thought, I'm gonna okay.
I'm like, oh wow,
I'm
killing the
interested.
banks, that's definitely disruptive. But once I read the article, pretty quickly I went and read the white paper, and then so I'm an engineer, so.
Well, that's beautiful. I just did a white paper reading yesterday on our Twitter Spaces for the show. Do you have a favorite part of the white paper?
Wow.
Or what to you when you went and read the white paper for
I think
maybe the first time or for at a later time?
Yeah, when you see that you can link blocks back in time, I really liked that concept.
The concept of like the once if you for a new one, if it's verified, then you know that all the previous ones are
Yes,
verified.
exactly.
That kind of
It's
concept.
built on top of the previous one.
Yeah.
That gives more credibility to the
Like
to
it's
the history.
a chain of truth kind of thing.
Yeah.
For me, it's the difficulty adjustment, because
This
if we
is-
if we contrast Bitcoin with gold, which I think is something that most people should do, it's okay. Well, gold theoretically was a store. Well, no, it was a store of value for a long time, and then more recently, it hasn't been the best store of value. And you look at why has it not been as good a store of value compared to Bitcoin, compared to maybe some other things that it could have been, and it's because of the kind of centralizing effects to store gold, right? So then they print the paper gold on top,
Yeah.
and you
exactly.
don't know actually
and
how
you don't
much
even know how much gold there is at all in the ground that you take out as well.
And then what happens is the gold price goes up, and a whole bunch of extra gold miners go to work and increase the supply, which then
Brings the price back down, yeah.
has a cushioning effect on price appreciation, right? Bitcoin has something special, and it's due to the difficulty adjustment, is that there is inelasticity with respect to supply. What that means is that if the price goes up, sure, some more Bitcoin miners can go to work in that very short period, and there will be a very brief period where the average block time will drop slightly, but then after 2 weeks, or rather after 2016 blocks,
It will be adjusted.
it will be adjusted. The difficulty will be adjusted, and they can't just keep printing Bitcoin at a faster rate, and so you don't have these these weird market dynamics.
The money supply is designed. It's by design that the money supply will be created in a steady way.
Right.
Brilliant. It's
Yeah.
absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Also, the concept of proof of work is amazing. I think this is one of the groundbreaking
Yeah.
ideas in the white paper, I think.
Well, it was applying it for real good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you learned about this incredible technology, and you thought I got to get some anti-bank money, and then what happened? Then you started to do what with your life? What changed?
Well, not much.
Okay.
Not much. I mean, I was working at Blinkbox at the time, and I started to. I was the guy who sort of tells everyone about Bitcoin, and then so more and more people were hearing about it. I guess not that many jumped on board. Some did jump on board, but they got lost to shitcoins, or
Okay,
even
because they came in 2013, 14, 15, and then there was a lot
it's
of
time where-
noise.
Exactly. Yeah. Or some of them even just kept their Bitcoin on exchanges, and
Okay.
I know a guy that lost on Mt. Gox,
Okay.
and
Did he get it back? Some of it back recently?
I didn't stay in touch.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know.
Um,
So the journey is not easy, if you're a Bitcoiner and you're trying to stay a Bitcoiner or to maintain, your Bitcoin principles over time. It's not that easy. People think, oh, you were early, so you're lucky. I don't think that's true, not at all.
there's an element of survivorship bias, right?
Yeah.
Um,
I can even tell you every time.
they don't meet the people that failed out, so to speak, right? Yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess so. They don't meet the people that fail out, and they don't realize how hard it is to stay in the game. I guess
To go through
That's
highs and lows
yeah.
many times.
Yeah. Every bull run, either pressure from my family or my wife's father, it gives me the usual call. Don't think Bitcoin is too high. Maybe it's time to sell some.
And they're really trying to be caring, right? I have similar family, similar sorts of things. I think lots of people do, right? Their families want them to be well financially, and they think that means having fiat. They think that means having a healthy bank account balance, right? Rather than like trying to live on zero and this sort of stuff.
I guess it comes from maybe some level of ignorance about how Bitcoin works. And also, if you do know if you do realize how Bitcoin works, maybe you don't believe it will work. So you have to be strong, I guess, over the lows and highs. But also, if you do know what you're doing, you could stack more sats. I mean, I would love to sell the top and buy the bottom, but I realized quite early that I really don't know when the top is and when the bottom is. So.
Right.
Just hodl.
Right. Yeah. Did you spend some time trading before you arrived at this?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And how did that go? How was your trade, sir?
I remember, the specific example is there was the Mt. Gox hack, and Bitcoin crashed from about 1,100
and it crashed all the way down to $100.
To $200.
To $200. I think I've seen this bit of the video. Yeah.
And there was like panic, sell, and I'm like, wow, okay, maybe they're right, So I sold some, and so it kept on going. So when I sold, suddenly, obviously it reversed and kept going up. I started going up, and like, oh my god, that was a mistake. So I bought back in, and then it crashed down to 100 or something like that. So then I realized, okay, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
The game is stacked against you anyway. I think if you're trying to trade, you're going against many other very clever people who are their job is to trade.
And they have way more money than you. Like it's
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's a bit like I think trading is like surfing. You're trying to catch the wave of something much bigger. I think.
Perfect wave.
Does that make sense? It's like, and you can ride it for a bit, but like, how long you ride the wave for gets increasingly risky. I have done a couple of times. I used to wake surf quite a lot, which is kind of cheating. Like you could just go in a big circle with the boat and just keep surfing, continuously for 10 minutes. It's lots of fun, but.
It's like surfing in the sense that it becomes a bit of a religion for yourself. So being a surfer is a bit of a religious.
I mean that like you're not really in control of your own velocity. You're being driven by another force, right? And I think the same is true in trading, unless you're some multi-billionaire, probably. Like you're hoping someone else kind of comes in and you ride their wave.
Unless you're the market maker, I guess that's how it's called. Then you fight other market makers.
Sure.
You
ever watched the show Billions?
I don't think so.
That kind of vibe.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
yeah. All these like like it's like wars being fought between different financial institutions, right? They're
Oh
trying
yeah.
to
Okay.
hear about what trade other people are in on and this sort of thing. The thing I say about Bitcoin is there is no inside trade, and
There is no.
it's the only
Yeah.
asset in the world where that's true. I think.
Yeah. It's true. I agree.
Um,
And also, Bitcoin is 24/7 trading everywhere. There's no stopping it.
It's traded
There's
longer
no-
than like the Nasdaq and this sort of thing, right? Because it's continuously trading.
Yeah, you can't close trading Bitcoin. There's no such thing. It's
That's
closed forever.
one of my least favorite statistics to hear on Bitcoin is like the open and close price. Like, what are you talking about? In what time zone? Like, it doesn't have. This is nonsense.
Those are fiat terms.
Right. Yeah. So, okay. So you
By the way, if you don't mind, I'm shamelessly
please do. Okay. So
promoting
Bitcoin gives you time back,
Angor.
and you use that time to do Angor.
What do you do with the time that you are given?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I guess
You can party a lot, but it gets boring after a while.
Yeah, exactly. How much can you be in the beach? How much can you travel? I guess, yeah.
Well, it's a lot, but it's just not. That's not the kind of fulfilling stuff that you. I think this is especially true. Maybe this is especially true for men, but it's like there's an element of like you get guilty rewarding yourself when you have it for nothing. That makes sense. Like you can enjoy the like feast after a battle, but if you haven't been
in the
in the
battle.
wars, so to speak, then
Fair enough.
living with like the fruits of war, so to speak, doesn't vibe well with your soul.
You want to earn it.
Yeah, you feel like you have to, like subconsciously. I think this is true.
But I guess also I will always work on something. I don't think that you have. Even when you retire, like any person that retires, they just go and work on other things normally, and
Some
Bitcoin
people
allows
do.
you to.
I think
Some people, true.
I think some people work for 30, 40, 50 years in fiat companies that they don't really care about, and then retire and do as little as possible because they've had that like life force beaten out of them, working for some faceless company that they're not really connected to.
No, but I sort of mean that you would go and you would garden, or you would
Maybe
you would find a hobby that you like and you would dedicate yourself to that. So it's still doing something. Maybe it's not as profitable.
So is
or not at
Angor
all
your favorite
profitable.
hobby?
You could say that Angor is. It was something that was brewing in my mind for a while, since 2017, the ICO era, the ICO boom and bust, and
Because you saw that companies were some companies were trying to raise money to do something, and the old system is what it is. But I don't. Is it hard to raise money in like the traditional tech finance world? It doesn't seem like it. Like all of the Silicon Valley lot have been investing in real companies, for want of a better word.
I don't know.
right?
I can't say. I never really tried to raise money. But I did really like the barrier to entry back then was anyone could create a project and try to raise money, and a lot of money actually did flow into projects. Some
Do you think
some
some
of them
it
were
was
insanely
honest?
crazy.
Do you think some of them were honest?
Yeah, I think
They were like mistakenly
I think
trying to do certain things, or like they maybe had.
incentives were misaligned. Even if you're honest and you get all the money up front, you lose your incentive to build. And this is probably the biggest problem back then. There were obviously
Interesting.
lots of scams, but a lot of money in your pocket leads you to become also maybe reckless or I guess.
That's right. People who think billionaires are lucky, I'm always like, I think you're an idiot because and it's because of this. It's because okay, maybe you get to like having a little bit of money, the urge to then go, okay, I'm going to chill increases, right? And so to actually keep kind of going, no, I'm going to like try and propel to another level. I mean, sure, there are exceptions. Some people get born into it, right? Whatever. But like, some of these people really just kept on going.
it's probably a fire in them that they want to build and innovate, regardless of how wealthy they are. And don't you think that's more the
Yeah, I
case?
mean, I think sometimes just like reducing friction for people, like making things easier for people. People pay you. Like some people hate on Bezos. I think the guy deserves to be stupidly rich. Like it's, you know, in London you can order something by 2 p.m. and it gets delivered by 10 p.m. Like a whole bunch of like, and so, okay, some stuff comes the next day, whatever. But like it's crazy that is a real thing. And so it's like, but it's boring. Like shipping logistics is boring. But if you can do some sort of boring thing that reduces friction for other people, makes their lives easier, you can get very wealthy.
Yeah, he improved millions of lives.
Yeah.
But you know what? Okay, here's a question: Amazon is sort of a monopoly? Is it a good monopoly, or
Why do you think it's a monopoly?
they control? They are the biggest player in the shipping space, aren't they? I remember reading, listening to this podcast where they
Maybe.
say like Amazon is sort of a monopoly, but it's a good monopoly because the consumer benefits. And the good monopolies are okay, but bad monopolies is what we need to try to prevent. Something like that.
Is the dollar a bad monopoly?
Monopoly on violence.
I was thinking on
The
like
state is the-
energy markets, but like,
Anything. The problem with the dollar is that it's controlled by humans, and they will eventually be corrupted. So what we want to do is
so you think it's impossible to have a good monopoly on money? Whoa, I kind of like that, Dan.
I think so. Yeah.
That's good.
It's impossible to have a good monopoly on money. You could have it. You could have it for
Because
100
if you
years.
have a monopoly on the money, then it's not good money, and you need it to be good money for yeah, kind of. Interesting.
Gold was money before, and gold wasn't good enough because states could just take over it. So
Yeah, because you can do a monopoly on custody because
yeah,
custody
you can
require
confiscate it and so on. And
custody because of a monopoly on violence again comes back to yeah.
So I wonder, will Bitcoin is definitely better than gold, but will it be strong enough to resist the power of states coming and trying to take it down eventually?
What can states do though?
Yeah. Well,
How do you think states can prevent Bitcoin from winning?
I heard that saying that every system can eventually be hacked. Maybe we
I
don't
mean, it
see
does.
it yet.
Yeah.
I believe Bitcoin. That's a belief now that Bitcoin is stronger than the state's ability to censor it. And in fact, into the Bitcoin protocol, you have incentives, game theory that is built in. So the states, they have better incentive to play along and
To mine the Bitcoin than to try and double spend.
than to try
Yeah.
to be malicious.
End of the white paper.
So that's a brilliant feature as well, right?
Yeah.
It was Andreas Antropoulos who said that.
His like
First.
the 51% attack clip. Is that what you mean?
Like I don't. He has a few.
He's got a few.
But I
Yeah.
remember seeing him saying like, yeah, the state will be a player rather than an adversary. So maybe there is a chance.
Yeah. How do you feel about state adoption of Bitcoin? Do you think it helps? Do you think state adoption of Bitcoin helps citizens of that country win?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In all the different kind of ways, like in El Salvador, you think? Have you been to El Salvador?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Definitely. want
From
to go.
afar, what does it look like to you?
It looks like it's very successful. As from people I speak to that have been there, seems to me like it's working. They're doing amazing. They are teaching the younger generation about Bitcoin, which is a very good thing to do. And they're accumulating Bitcoin, which is it works quite well for them now. And the streets are cleaner. I don't know if the fact the streets are being cleaner and safer has to do with Bitcoin. This I can't say, but it seems to me that accumulating Bitcoin was the right way to do, and it also attracts the right people.
You think that El Salvador used Bitcoin to essentially empower their future?
Yes, definitely.
Um,
Yeah, the next generation will benefit from what the current government is doing, I guess. I mean, obviously, that's my opinions. I don't have that. That's my beliefs.
so let's go back to talking a little bit more about Angor. Bitcoin gave you some time back, and you decided that you wanted to build some open source software to help people with fundraising for legitimate technology companies.
Yeah, yeah.
You've talked a little bit about how you kind of some of the inspiration for it, but why? Like, how was this where you decided you wanted to kind of spend, I guess, your time, rather than say this could be an idea and then you paid someone else to do it, for example? Like, why was this something you wanted to put your time toward?
Oh, good. Okay. Oh, yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I do have the skill, and I wanted to do something. Often when you're a developer, you want to build stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it made sense more. It made sense to me more that I would do it, and maybe gather some people around me to try to build Angor. But I think also there are not that many people with the skill on building on low-level Bitcoin stuff. Low-level meaning that you know how the Bitcoin...
You mean at protocol level or just
yeah,
above?
how
kind of thing?
Bitcoin transaction work,
Right.
how the script works, and also the ability to research it. I didn't know Taproot that well until I had to come and build it into Bitcoin. So then I had to go and learn a lot about how Taproot works, and you need some prior skill before you can go and...
Right.
And, so yeah, I guess finding Bitcoin developers and engineers is not that easy, and they are probably already quite busy on other projects.
Is there a good way, you think, for people who want to kind of be building stuff in the Bitcoin space to know what the kind of prerequisites are that they should learn before trying to build a wallet or whatever? Whatever is the kind of, I don't know, big. It's not even big. It can't be a beginner project, but do you know what I mean? Like, it seems like that's a thing that lots of developers seem to end up doing.
You have a lot of SDKs now that give you some basic functionality out of the box. But if you want to do more complex stuff, you have to just get your hands dirty. And I mean, the way I really learned about how Bitcoin works is that I used to work for Stratis. They were some ICO company that they wanted to build blockchain technology in .NET.
Okay.
So part of working with Stratis, we sort of built the Bitcoin full node, the Bitcoin protocol in .NET, and then implemented that on their blockchain. So I learned a lot, mainly by going into the Bitcoin core code and reading C++ code and also Bitcoin code. And
are different implementations of Bitcoin interoperable? You talked about kind of it being on their blockchain, but you can have like...
Oh, what's the question again? Different?
So my understanding is Bitcoin's written in C++, right?
Yeah.
If you rewrite it in something else, can you then run a
Yeah,
Bitcoin
absolutely.
Node?
Our node was compatible with the Bitcoin blockchain.
Because am I right in thinking libbitcoin is another
libbitcoin is another one,
different implementation?
Yeah. So our implementation was we could sync we can sync the blockchain, but at some point we stopped development. So I think at compact blocks, and I forgot what's the protocol version of that. But that's where the node that we were building stopped there.
Okay.
But yes, we definitely could sync. Our node could sync the Bitcoin blockchain.
The current one of the big current debates in the online space in Bitcoin is about different implementations of Bitcoin clients. Obviously, Bitcoin Core is the most popular one. We talked about Bitcoin Knots.
Bitcoin Knots.
Do you think they're Do you think there should be more implementations of Bitcoin clients?
I don't think so. I think there are. I think it's an ongoing debate. Probably, my opinion is that the Bitcoin protocol, the consensus is very limited. It can't do that much. So we just need one implementation that it's open source, and nobody touches it. And maybe if you change something, there needs to be wide consensus, and that's it. Just everyone runs that.
But when there are changes to Bitcoin core, do you think there is wide consensus?
To the protocol, to the consensus part, or to other parts around.
Okay.
You have to distinguish the two. If you make changes to consensus, so that's bad. But you can add more API endpoints, or you can change configuration. As long as you don't change consensus, then I think that's fine. But the problem with having multiple implementations is how do you make sure that the consensus code in one implementation is exactly identical to the other one? And if it's not, then you might get network splits.
Can you explain a little bit what you mean by, I guess, the consensus part of the implementation?
The code that verifies that the rules.
It's like a judging kind of mechanism.
Yeah. So you know when you execute the Bitcoin script, it runs through an engine that checks every OP code, and then it applies some execution on top of that.
Okay.
And so if you have different implementation, let's say different languages, and there is a small bug, and one consensus will have a different result from another. In a very specific edge case, you will have a network split. So this is what I mean when the consensus is the part that verifies.
And that's where essentially some number of nodes get forked off the network?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
It happened with Ethereum. Ethereum, I think they have 5 implementations. 5 different implementations of their protocol. And one of them had a bug. And then you had I forgot when exactly that was, but it was a big fork, like a big fork in the network at some point. So so this is always a risk, and there's no reason to build other implementations. I mean, that's my opinion. Everyone just needs to run that specific one that makes sure the consensus is like verify the blocks are valid based on the consensus of the description of the execution of the consensus for that implementation, and that's it. So
you think the base layer of Bitcoin is already won? We need to care more about other layers and building companies and a new society on top.
Yeah, that's what I think. If anything, you need to add to Bitcoin's layer, consensus layer, functionality that allows us to build on layer 2s. And then we just stop changing the Bitcoin, the base layer, and everyone can go on and implement layer 2s however they like.
I think we should. I'm definitely in the kind of slow and steady camp for changes on to Bitcoin. I think we should never say, oh, we should definitely ossify now, because I think at some point, there might be something that you should consider. Certainly, I don't think we're quite there with regards to scaling. I think you referenced that maybe some changes to Bitcoin that can help with layer 2s. To me, some of the covenants could help significantly with Lightning and with things like Arc.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
You will never scale the base layer. You would never scale it.
If you're a developer out there and you want to create some project to help with the different layers of Bitcoin, to help scale Bitcoin, right? What are your options right now? I guess you can apply to join one of these Bitcoin research labs, shall we say? Like I don't know what the right term is. Things like Chain Code, Brink, Spiral. There's a few of these, right? But usually the people that are joining those things have already been doing work on other things.
They already have some reputation.
Right. Yeah. So how can you finance work on Bitcoin? I think developer funding for Bitcoin is an ongoing conversation that I don't think it ever actually truly gets solved. I don't think that's necessarily a a bad thing either. It is something that should get reviewed continuously over time, and enabled in different ways, right? We do want the engine of Bitcoin to keep chugging along, but if I'm a developer, let's say, and I want to try and build something, how could I use Angor to help me try and finance my work? Is that something I could do?
Oh,
I want to create. I want to create a company
here.
to help. I don't know. Yeah.
One is, how do you, as a developer, how do you penetrate the space?
So I'm thinking about like recently, or like a year ago or so, like there were those ARC companies. There were two ARC companies, right? You know, Tiero and the other guys. Like some of that's like self-funded. Some of it's from they've raised money from VCs, this sort of thing. They did it before Angor existed. Would things like Angor be of benefit to those kinds of companies? Do you think Angor can catalyze some of this layered development of Bitcoin?
I definitely think yes, and I think in fact it won't, not just for those developers, those who are the VCs could use Angor to fund the people they give money to, the founders.
You mean as in they can put up like, hey, we want this to get built, and then someone can apply for that kind of thing?
Yeah, and then they use the mechanism of like giving the funds up front and having it locked into. I mean, Angor is really just the delivery mechanism to builders, I guess. And I guess so the way it works with VCs right now, they will tell you, okay, you want some money, here are the milestones, and we keep the money, and we will just give it to you when you reach your milestones. So that's first of all, that's slightly more centralized.
So it's a trust model.
It's a trust model for sure, and that works, I guess, with VC if you have a relationship of a VC and a founder. But what if you want to raise money from the plebs or from many VC? I guess also many VCs, you get signed contracts and they prove they have the funds, and then you can trust them. But if you want to raise from the plebs, Angor is probably the best tool to do that. So instead of having like,
so you can have like a pool of pleb VCs, so to speak, like that fund a project.
We're having some chats.
Who chooses the milestones then? Do the founders choose? No, because surely if you have lots of, you can't. Yeah, how does that work? How do you choose the milestones when you have thousands of funders or something?
The founder chooses the milestone, but it's based on time.
Okay.
It's like, by this date I would have achieved X, and by that date I would have achieved Y. And if I didn't achieve X, then I will communicate to you why I failed, and you can make your own decision whether you want to pull out or not. And normally, if people would give you money, it's because they want you to succeed, and if you are honest and you are communicative, I don't think founders will, investors would pull out just because you missed a milestone. It's very common to miss milestones in development, in the space of development, right? So I don't think that's a problem. But if you're missing too many milestones, or if you are not communicative, or if the thing you're building doesn't reflect what it was that you said you will build, then the investors, they have options. They don't depend on going and finding you on, I don't know, Telegram or Discord, or chatting with you and hey, like, what's going on? Why are you not delivering? Or can I want to pull out, and so on. So I guess you could say it empowers more the investors, but it doesn't mean founders lose that much control.
As a founder of Angor, by open sourcing it, were you giving away control?
Oh.
Or were you empowering others? And I know we've talked about this before, the decision to open source, but for many people who are trying to build a software company, it can be a real conflict. I know our friend Max Hillebrand gave a talk that he thinks all software should be open source.
Yeah. He's right.
And so then, is there a conflict if you have people people on your platform raising money for equity, for miles, or is it not for equity?
It could be for both.
Okay.
I see three categories. One is you just give a donation. Here, take my money, and I don't care, or I do care, but I can't. There's not much I can do about it.
Yeah.
The second one is I give you money to build a product, and then so the accountability here is that you will build a product, and I will see the product being built over time.
Yeah, it's like a bounty kind of concept, I guess.
Sort of, bounty or grant even.
Grant, yeah.
And the third one is that I will give you money to build a product, and I have a share in that product. And I think Ango is for both the second cases. I will give you money, and you will build a product, and I have some control over making sure you deliver. And then everyone benefits because this product is now probably open source. And the one with the equity, that also is a case for Angor, but the problem with equity is in a decentralized space, it's harder to enforce the founders paying you the revenue. So let's say a project raised money and they're successful. How can you make sure that they give you the whatever percent that they promised you when you invested? So there are all kinds of ways around that, I guess. So that's one thing that is like we need to solve still, and it's an open debate. And
you're trying to incentivize the winning, like you're trying to tie the people getting paid to actually the real productivity. I think there's in the fiat world we've seen an explosion of fake laptop jobs, right? Like these kind of like where the money's tied to the appearance of the job rather than the actual job. And so I think it's kind of cool that you're trying to bring a little bit more integrity back to the relationship between work and money, while we have at the same time we have we talked about this the debasement of fiat kind of causing a drive in the other direction for people being incentivized to cheat more rather than to do more honest work. So praise to you on that. We have I think maybe about 5 minutes left. I'm wondering if maybe you could share a little bit about how you've used Bitcoin to enable your family, your family's life more. I think my dad always told me that money gives you choice. What you do with that choice is up to you, right? It gives you more options. How have you, given better optionality for your family, and how do you try and?
Yeah, I mean, for myself personally, it allows me to build things like Angor, and it gives me financial freedom to build on things I think will bring value and impact. It allowed my wife, for example, she was able to quit her job in finance and go and study something else, psychology, and change her career.
Was that something she wanted to do for a long time?
She a long time wanted to do that. So
that must have been very meaningful for her and for the two of you.
Yes.
And
for my kids, nothing changed.
Really?
No, nothing changed.
You don't think they had a happier mother who was learning more and
Yeah, fair enough on that. Yeah, perhaps happier parents.
I think I guess you don't see the other path, right? That happens. This is one thing that's really difficult about life, is you don't see.
Yeah.
It's very difficult often to see that other path if you hadn't made that decision, or if you hadn't done that, and so it can be difficult, I think, to know what's good to spend money on, unless you know yourself well.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Yes, if you don't see, I always try to not live in a bubble. I guess that's the secret is like be financially sound and financially free. But stay modest, stay humble, I guess. Stack sats.
To me, it's okay. Look at all these lifestyles of other people. some of them you can't test until you have lots of money. And if you then test them, maybe you don't like it and you waste lots of money. But I think there's various, for the vast majority of things, you can get some idea of, is it something you genuinely enjoy, or are you trying to impress people whose opinions you don't even really care about, right? There is this, in the fiat world, this rat race to get ahead, to impress other people, rather than, and to then kind of feel like you're winning, right? And then to kind of live off that vibe, rather than like a kind of quieter winning in peace, where other people don't necessarily know that you are. Now I guess there's a conflict then of like, well, which one seems to be more influential, and then this is what I guess
It's
we
maybe
have
that
this
you
situation.
need to seem that you're a winner or that you are successful in order to attract other more success to you. While probably in the Bitcoin space, it's the opposite.
Or to convince people that this is a better path for actually winning.
Yeah.
But if you're not, but it's not as loud.
Yeah,
It's not as flashy. It's not.
You're rewarded for being humble in Bitcoin, in the Bitcoin space. You are expected to being humble, to be humble. I mean, at least that's what I think. Being humble is the right way, because then you're stacking sats, and that's the right thing to do. And even more, I would even go one step further and would say, you hear that some people say Bitcoin is generational wealth. So your Bitcoin will actually, you're just, how was it?
Yeah, if you reproduce, right? I guess, right. This is a thing.
That's the
like,
point.
yeah.
You are just a vehicle that's currently holding your Bitcoin wealth, and it will move on to the next generation.
Yeah, I think Patek Philippe once said that you never own Bitcoin, you merely look after
Yeah,
it
that's
for the
it.
next
That's what I was
generation.
looking for. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that sentence.
I'm of the belief that people should use their money however they want to use it, because it's their money, right? And that doesn't mean use it frivolously necessarily, right? That means that it's okay to spend it on things that you think will have a meaningful improvements to your life. Like try and use money to make your life better. Yeah. That doesn't mean buy the flashy car unless you're really into cars and that actually would make you very happy, and like driving it around every day you're like, yeah, this is amazing, like, and you feel catalyzed by it. Like, I think there's a lot to be said about just having fun, and like that then seems to bring. I used to think all this kind of energy stuff was nonsense, but it's not. Like, it's like if you like, it's all about vibes ultimately. And
Well,
if you can maintain a good vibe yourself, things flow your way.
Right. If you own your keys, then you just do what the F you want, right? So if you want a flashy car, get the flashy car, no doubt.
Do you know what Andreas said about selling a car versus selling a house? He said that he would just allow 3 confirmations for selling his house, but 6 for his car. And you might think, well, why would he want more confirmations for a less valuable item? And he said, well, you can't drive off in my house.
Oh yeah,
Right?
true.
So yeah, please take self-custody. Please use Bitcoin to empower your life. Keep winning on Wednesday. Thank you. I'm Walton. Huge thanks again to my amazing guest, Dan, from Angor. Please check it out, angor.io.
Angor.io.
Angor.io. This was the Bitcoin Business Lounge. We will see you again tomorrow. Thank you.